welcome to episode 51, and today we'll be talking about the pitfalls of building your own Squarespace site. So stay tuned. So some business owners and individuals say that, hey, they're going to build their own website, right off of Squarespace or even Wix, right? There's a lot of different build your own sites out there, and I just want to let others know that here are some of the pitfalls when they go down that path. So here's the reality of it. Number one, it's the expertise, right? Think of the time you set up your accounting or you're setting up your business for the first time. There was a lot, right, to set up and configure, and setting the chart of accounts, and also knowing like what type of organization to be set up, and having an expert like an accountant or a business lawyer really is helpful and makes that process a lot easier. But then once that is completed, then there are also other regulations and things to keep up with too. So for example, and that's a good segue to websites are becoming more and more like that, and not just websites, but that's part of like the marketing, the digital marketing pieces, and where customers' data is being stored. So there's regulations not just in the US but also in mainly also in Europe too. Is a big push for that, of privacy laws and where that data is stored and who can have access to that data. I mean, you can see not that long ago, like Facebook and Google, these big companies are being questioned on how they handle that data and how securely is that data being held. And all that is still part of a website, especially e-commerce site. And then the other piece is understanding and creating a site that's really sends the message for that business. So a lot of first-time builders, they look at finding the best design, but sometimes that best design that they like doesn't really necessarily reflect on what their business is and who they're trying to target and what their audience really understands or really likes. So that's important. That's not something that they can just figure out first time building a site. It takes a while. It takes years to figure that out, and understanding not just the UX and UI aspect, but how does the flow of data and that experience and on how that site is built too. And then the other piece is learning about building a website versus growing a business. So that's that expertise, right? I don't think a business owner should spend a lot of time just trying to figure out how to build a website, because there's more important things they could be doing, and that's really about growing their business. So as for example, if they're a consultant, they should be focusing their time building their business, seeing if they can get more engagement, more opportunities, right? And building up their network as a consultant. So the second piece is time. So, and we kind of touched on that with time of like, should I spend time figuring out the site myself, or should I spend time hiring someone to build that for me and having that expertise, right? But also it takes a lot of time to build a site. And here's a quick example of just showing you a little bit about what about the back end of what Squarespace is like. So as you can see here with the back end of Squarespace, I just picked a template. Looks pretty simple. And then but the problem, here's another problem. You click into this and you look at the banner, and next thing you know, there's all these options here. There's the advanced options where you can add additional code to it. And you look at this screen here, and you'll need to build the site structure, and having someone like an agency help you with that is really key, because again, that's part of user experience. You look at design, and there's all these additional options, and you look at marketing and SEO, there's email campaigns, there's promotional pop-ups, right? And all that is required to build a good site for the most part. And it's nice to have an agency kind of support that business owner rather than trying to tackle all this by themselves. Um, so this is just a quick example of what the back end of Squarespace would look like. So, we talked a little bit about building the site and how much time it takes, but also the time it takes to, once they're done with the site, there still needs to be time to be spent on updating the site too. So every time they go in, they tweak a little image, and sometimes the image might not fit right properly. Next thing you know, 2 hours gone by, 3 hours has gone by. So time just really flies when they're working on a site like that at that level. And then thirdly, it's the functionality. There's limitations on platforms like Squarespace and Wix from a functionality standpoint. Like there's limited coding pieces. Most don't have direct access to the code, and even if they do, they'll need either a developer or they need to learn how to code themselves to tweak the site that they to the point where they want to get their site to be at. But when they're spending all that time, they're better off building a site on a different platform altogether, because building a platform on Squarespace and Wix, they don't own the code. They don't own that platform. So if that platform does go away, their site also goes down too with it. And then there's limited in speed and performance because they don't own the code. They don't have the option to host the site in an environment that is best fit for them, that has the best performance. And finally, there's not as many third-party apps that support these third-party platforms, and it requires custom development in that regard. Whereas if you go with a platform like WordPress, which is open source, there's a lot more options out there and a lot more flexibility. So those are three key areas to watch out for as pitfalls. Now, I'm not saying Squarespace doesn't work for everyone. There are certain use cases that I feel Squarespace is great for. For example, if they want to build a simple site that is really for a hobby, or a secondary is they're building a site and the business is so simple that all it requires is a page, and they're just displaying some basic information, and they're just prototyping the business. They're not investing huge amounts into the business. They're just trying to see if that business idea will work, and they just need some simple landing page. But when it comes down to expanding and growing a business that's lasting for at least 5, 10, 15, 20 years, then I would encourage a business owner to start talking to an agency at least to get some ideas, to get started on that. And I'm not saying that Squarespace won't work. They can at least talk to an agency, get them started, and maybe offer some consultation on that. And if they really want to go start with a Squarespace, then that's perfectly fine. At least they have the knowledge and the tools they need to get started, but knowing that in the future, most likely, they'll have a site of their own. So, hope that helps. I'll see you next time. Bye.